Are we waylaid with gloom and doom? So we decided on the show today to invite in a panel who, despite all the doom and gloom, are forging ahead in business and showing that Ireland may yet still be the land of opportunity. Joining us live in studio, I'd like to welcome Jonathan Ruane, co-founder of Eventovate. Okay, and we're going to find out what that's all about. Seamus Sheridan, founder of Sheridan's Cheesemongers, an artisan food, I'd say. We'll find out about that. And a regular friend of the show, Stephen O'Leary, media analyst with O'Leary Analytics. And joining us a little bit later on the phone will be Neil Sweeney, owner of McElhinney's of Athboy.
We want to hear from you as well this morning. 53106 business owners, how do you find conditions working in Ireland? And also, what one thing could the government do? Remember the Taoiseach's speech throughout the general election about the man who said to him he needed 27 certificates on the wall. Could we not get it down to one certificate to open a business? Let us hear from you. 53106 at a cost of 30 cents. Twitter.com @BreakfastNT or low call us 1890 453 106.
Jonathan Ruane, tell us about Eventovate. What does it do? What does it say on the tin?
So we are a cloud-based software company, and we help hotels grow their events business. So, for example, if you're a wedding venue, our software will help you manage and your processes, make sure that you're driving your business proactively. And it also, because it's based in the cloud, it also enables our customers' hotels to offer their clients additional services as well, because it's all interactive.
And when did you set it up?
In 2009.
And how's business?
Great, fantastic. We just raised a round of funding about 3 months ago. We raised €700,000, and before that, since that we've been recruiting. It's now 9 people working full time on the business.
And you making money?
No, we're still losing money at the moment, and we intend to continue losing money for quite a while.
I love this.
That's why we raised the money. We are expanding into the UK at the moment, and onwards from there probably.
Well, it ticks all the boxes of software, of online. I mean, these are. You also won an award.
We've won a few. I think. I suppose the biggest one is
we've lost a few.
Recently. The biggest one was back in sometime earlier in the year. There was an organisation called TechCrunch. They're pretty much the Wall Street Journal for the technology industry, and they listed us in the top 100 tech companies in Europe.
And how difficult has it been to set up? I mean, some of the advantages of setting up a business in 2009 and subsequently is a lot of the economic correction of property prices, the labour market softening and all that kind of thing. It means that you can extract better terms than legacy terms that established businesses have. Give us the pluses and minuses in your case of setting up a business in a challenging environment.
I suppose we started the business in 2009, so we've never traded in the good times, let's call it. So we don't know any different. And actually, when you come from that perspective, it's not so bad. If you're running a big company and you're turning over 100 million a year and your sales are down 10 million, it's a huge headache. It's a massive nightmare. But if you turned over nothing last year and this year you're turning over 500,000, actually things are going great. So I think it depends on the perspective. The advantages of starting up in the recession that you mentioned there, like cheaper rents, certainly are available. But in our industry, certainly there is no reduced wages. It's still very difficult to hire and retain very good people, and you're having to pay them very well. So that hasn't affected us.
Because there are talent shortages, isn't that
massive
the case?
Talent shortages, as in desperately.
And is that because of our education system, or people are leaving the country?
Education system. I mean, it's more than just education system, but I suppose between those two it would be education system. We're not outputting the calibre of graduates that we need to. We don't have the level of ambition within our universities. And
it's also true, I was at a conference yesterday, people with specialist PhDs and doctorates, the next level up are really not being produced by our academic.
No, and ignoring the actual degree that you end up coming out of college with, I think the big problem is our level of ambition within the universities. There is, and even if you listened yesterday, there was a question raised in the Dáil about this, and the Deputy Minister answered it, and really he explained it. What they're trying to do is output a lot of very average graduates, and actually that's great. We need lots of average people, but we need lots of exceptional people as well. And so trying to have some people who are trying to be world class, some people who are trying to break the mould and trying to be brilliant, that's what we need.
Is it the case that we see that in our universities when it comes to healthcare and developing certain things? Because you always see in the paper, the University Trinity maybe or Cork has come up with something new for treating something that maybe we do it in health but not necessarily in business.
Yeah, I think there's a big problem in Ireland as well. I suppose it goes all the way back to secondary school. Very few people, when they get 600 points in their leaving cert, think that they're going to go into business or even into technology. I mean, we've recently hired a couple of graduates. One of the guys we hired, I think he got 590 points in the leaving cert and went to do a course in DCU that was less than 400 points. And a lot of people would have said to him, why are you wasting your points? Go do medicine, that kind of stuff. So that's certainly a problem.
Okay, you're listening to Newstalk Breakfast. We have a panel of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs. 9:12 it is now. Seamus Sheridan, you're founder of Sheridan's Cheesemongers. Tell us about your business.
Well, our business is an old business, I suppose, because we set up in 1995 on a market stall in the Galway market. We had a little shop at the time, and we saw the market was busy, so we hoofed up some cheese on a table and sold out in a couple of hours. And there was born Sheridan's Cheesemongers. But I suppose our company relies on other small companies creating produce within Ireland that we can sell and export.
And first of all, what are we talking about? Cow milk, sheep milk, goat milk?
All three.
Oh, all three?
Yeah. I mean, we're not producers. We're modelers.
You buy from you source the product, you don't make it.
Yeah, we're just shopkeepers,
Okay, so you have, how many farmers would you have supplying you?
In Ireland at the moment, about 70 farmers.
Okay, and you've moved obviously from a stall in Galway.
Yeah, I mean, we employ nearly 50 people now. We've shops in Dublin and Galway, and we've a big headquarters down in County Meath in a beautiful disused train station that we bought about 6-7 years ago. We export a huge amount, which is probably the one bright star on the horizon.
What is the UK?
UK, but more in Scandinavia, Denmark, Holland.
And how did you establish those markets? Did you have to just take a flight out and bring your produce with you?
The first time I did it, I rented a van down in Wexford, drove from New Ross.
Fair play to you.
Drove the cheese in, went into Selfridges, didn't have any sterling to get back over the Severn Bridge. Wrote them a dodgy cheque. The van blew up just near the harbour, got a tow on, and then got into a bank in somewhere in Wexford and got them to transfer 50 quid.
Proper chancer. I love that kind of story. So, and tell us, when did you really start to get traction then?
We were unique in Ireland at the time, and I suppose we're a victim of our own success in that now you've got loads of people selling the same produce we do, but at the same time we're concentrating on wholesale and on export. So we've been very, very lucky, but we...
And are there issues like shelf life, the chilling and the, distribution? Are there a lot of logistical issues?
There's huge logistical issues with fresh produce. It's a very difficult business to be in.
And of course, if anything goes wrong with the product, you're at the loss.
We're at the loss. I mean, there was a famous jeweller shop, Harry Danker's, next door to us on South Ann Street, and I have a good few Jewish relations as well, but he used to say the difference between you and me, Shamey, is you believe in Jesus. I believe in gold and silver. But I mean, that appreciates and my product depreciates. So.
And tell me this, usually the credit terms of food suppliers can be 30, 60 days. How do you grow a business when you're in negative cash flow?
Well, negative cash flow has been a huge problem for us. We're always a couple of 100,000 short. We've had 200,000 or 300,000 in bad debts in the last 3 years from lovely restaurants, some dodgy ones, some good ones, going to the wall.
And that hits the bottom line really hard. Are you making money?
If you rule out bad debt, I think companies that are making a bottom line, if they ignore their bad debt, if you can get over the line on your trading and make a paper profit on trading, even if you can write off your debt over the next 10 years, your bad debt, then you'll survive. It's the poor companies that have bad debt and can't get over the line.
But in accounting terms, are you making money?
No.
And are you drawing a wage out of the business?
I draw it's public record, so I draw 25 grand a year because I'm very lucky. My partner is a primary school teacher, so we're loaded.
Yeah,
obviously.
So is my wife too. Marry a laying hen. I told you it's the only way to go. Yeah. But no, so how many years are you at this now?
15 years.
Fantastic. And so basically now, just your routine. I am fascinated by this. Are you out there doing the marketing edge, or are you there kind of in the distribution centre?
Well, the distribution centre's in Meath. I'm based in Galway. But the last year, we've been taken up by developing... We imported about 100 grand's worth of biscuits every year. So myself and the brother decided to make our own biscuits. And so we did the Sheridan's thing. We went to Macroom, Mills down in Cork, and we set up a little factory there with somebody. And we've invented Irish biscuits using buttermilk and butter, and we've just got huge export orders from the States and from Scandinavia.
Chris expects product when guests come in.
I
don't see any.
I couldn't get into the shop this morning at 5.
Cheese and biscuits, he'll be just going to say to us, that Sheridan fella didn't bring in any product from. Anyway, you're listening to Newstalk Breakfast, and we want to move on to our next panelist, who's a regular. He's normally in here at 7 o'clock telling us what's happening on the web in relation to various news stories. Stephen O'Leary, media analyst at O'Leary Analytics. Tell us your business.
Essentially, we tell people what's being said about them online. So clients come to us knowing that they're being talked about either in the press in Ireland or internationally, or in social media, so that people are actually having conversations in which they're involved, or their competitors are involved, or their industry is involved, and they want to know more. They have bits, they have pieces, but they want somebody to find it and to attempt to make sense of it, and to help them with that.
And tell us the business story. When did you set it up? How many do you employ?
Well, the background was, my degree was in journalism and media communications, and I worked previously for a software company, and we sold a piece of software that companies used to buy in-house and bring in-house that allowed them to monitor their international media coverage. And in some ways, the recession was a huge opportunity, because what I began to notice was that the software we were selling suddenly had become too expensive for clients, and they wanted different payment terms. Instead of paying for something 12 months in advance, they wanted it at certain times of the year. And the business model of the company I was working for at the time didn't allow that. So I started to hear, if only this was available as a service instead of a software, we would use it. And you hear enough of that. And I went to the company and said, we could offer this in a different way. And they said, well, it's not really our business model. Our business model is to sell the software and not provide a service. But when enough people say to you, well, look, if the service was there, we would pay for it, you kind of say, well, I'll take the leap.
And is it a one-man operation?
At the moment, yes. At certain times of the year, we do work with a number of organisations who would have high intense periods of the year when they get an awful lot of coverage, and at those times we bring in additional analysts. And I'm hoping before the end of the year to grow 100% and have a second employee.
And I understand the phenomenal growth, hits, traffic, internet business, but I just don't get how people make money out of it. Like, do your clients pay you well for the service?
They do. It's got what people are saying about you has a huge value. And I suppose the easiest way maybe to look at it is in terms of market research. The amount of money that companies spend on market research. They get panels together, they get boards together, they do vox pops, they do things like that. And the key difference is when you do that, the people who give you answers are conscious of what they're talking about, and they're conscious they're being asked with a purpose in mind. Whereas the conversations we listen to, although they're in the public realm, very rarely are the people who talk conscious that what they're saying is being listened to or interpreted in any way or being taken in any kind of context. So you get a much more honest answer. And that information can be really valuable when companies are thinking about the products to develop.
Are you making money?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, at 19 minutes past 9, you're listening to Newstalk Breakfast this Thursday morning. Our guests, Jonathan Ruane, co-founder of Eventovate, Seamus Sheridan, founder of Sheridan's Cheesemongers, and Stephen O'Leary, media analyst at O'Leary Analytics. And listening to all three of you there, you're all very clever people and all of that, but you need generals and you need soldiers, and soldiers can take their wages home all of the time. And were you ever not just tempted to use your smarts, go into a company and just take your wages? Or were you just have this kind of entrepreneurial spirit in you? Maybe Jonathan?
When I left, I finished college in somewhere around 2000, 2001, something like that. Myself and my brother had started our own business when we were in university. So I suppose we always had an interest in entrepreneurialism, but we both went and worked for international companies. So I went and worked for Procter & Gamble, a big multinational consumer goods company, and he worked for Intel. So we both went around the world and worked for them for 10 years. So we did that for about 10 years, and then we came back in 2009. So there's more the kind of opposite.
Okay.
I think there's a certain time and place if you're going to set up your own business. But looking back on it now, I would have said I could have done it any time. But at the time you think you can't. You need the right time. You don't. You can just do it any time.
Okay. Stephen, similar question?
Yeah, I think it was a opportunity knocked was really it. I mean, I think there's only so many times you can sit around and hear that somebody is looking for a service that's not being provided before you say, well, someone has to do this.
Yeah.
And it was a regular occurrence. The clients were coming and saying, if somebody provided this, we would pay for it. We want someone to do this. And I had a huge interest in the area anyway, and I felt that it was an opportunity, I suppose, to take different skills and bring them together.
So you've taken risks. Maybe Seamus Sheridan, founder of Sheridan Ireland's cheesemongers. I'll just put this text to you. It's about something Jonathan said earlier on, but I'll just be interested in your experience of working with people. Marty in Donegal said, one of your guests said Ireland isn't producing the graduates for his line of work. Some of the most talented people in the country, though, didn't go to university or have secondary education. What are any of your guests' opinions on hiring people to train them into the job? It's cheaper, gives people a chance. Education isn't for everyone, but we all know that letters after your name don't necessarily make a good teacher, manager, etc. So in terms of taking people on, what have you found about skills out there?
Good man, Martin Donegal. Man after my own heart. I went to Sing Street. I think I mitched off for the Leaving Cert. Didn't really do it. Then I went to London for the first time and got a job there for a couple of years. Never been to college. The only time I'm in college now is if I'm giving talks. The only disadvantage is they can't pay me if I'm giving talks in college because I don't have a degree. They can only give me expenses of 50 quid. But yeah, college is in certain areas it's far too much emphasis placed on it.
And you're saying in your area it was graft?
Well, no, not graft, but I mean, bring back apprenticeships. Get people in working for a couple of years. That's train people on the job.
And Jonathan, if I just maybe give you a chance to answer that, because of course you're talking about cloud computing, you're talking about a smart industry. But are you willing to take on a graduate and train them up to a level that maybe the job isn't necessarily looking for?
That's exactly what we do. I mean, the example we always use internally is one of the biggest money making machines ever invented. Goldman Sachs pays 23-year-olds £1 million bonuses every year in London. So if Goldman Sachs think 23-year-olds are worth $1 million, who am I to disagree?
Okay, you're listening to Newstalk Breakfast. We have a panel of entrepreneurs. The one thing all the guys in the studio have in common is they're young. They're talking about young businesses and startups. Let's ask the question though. If we look at the wider economy, what about established businesses? What about the retail sector? Well, it's a pleasure now to welcome to the programme Neil Sweeney of McElhinney's in Athboy, one of the best-known traditional retailers in the country. Good morning, Neil.
Morning, Ivan. How are you?
Just tell us about McElhinney's, its history, and what does it sell?
Sure. McElhinney's is a lady store. It was founded by my grandmother in 1937. It specialised in special occasions, guests at a wedding, in additional day wear and wedding outfits. Now,
you were initially hit hard by the recession.
We were indeed, yeah. We found just in 2008, 2009, we found footfall falling, and we found that just consumer confidence collapsed as well, and just continually got worse. And I suppose we'd intended and managed the business that the recession would be short-lived, but unfortunately it was longer than we thought, and unfortunately we had to restructure the business through a liquidation in 2010.
And?
We've managed to come out of it. We've cut our costs. We've cut our cost base. We've had to reduce staff, and we're managing it very tightly now, just to reflect the footfall and the turnover we have at the moment.
And how is business?
It's tough, yeah. I mean, it is difficult. We're very lucky that, we have very loyal customers despite all the trials and tribulations we went through, and they're very good to us. But we're just finding footfall would be a lot lower than it would have been in the last 20 years. But people are buying, but just confidence is shot.
Yeah, we hear a lot about consumer sentiment. So what's your experience on the high street? Have you detected a change in people's attitudes over the past year? Are people getting comfortable with spending again?
Well, we don't see it just yet anyway. We do find that people are buying for special occasions and events still as they used to be before. But normal day wear, we'd find that people are just very careful, they're very price conscious, and, a lot of people aren't even going out there shopping. They may have moved to the internet, or they're not buying at all at the moment.
People like me, just get 5 or 6 years out of a winter coat. Is that what people are doing? Instead of buying every year, they're buying every other year?
Yeah, we hear that, and people are recycling clothes, particularly wedding outfits, wedding dresses, sisters, even mothers' wedding dresses, retailing them, things like that. Just the consumer has probably been, hit very badly by the recession and burdened with debt, and they're just being very careful and very cautious. And probably the biggest thing is uncertainty going forward, is not knowing what job security they have, and also in addition to that, just wondering when the recession is going to end. And it's a domestic problem, and then there's the bigger international thing in Europe that we really haven't grappled the problems in Europe, and confidence is very low there also.
And what do you say to Bill Clinton, who says, look, we're far too hard on ourselves?
I mean, in fairness to him, Irish people are terribly positive and optimistic. I suppose it's like farmers and things like that, and we are in a rural community. and we remain very optimistic. But there are a few issues in Ireland. I mean, as I said to you before, not going on about it, is that the government need to give a clear path to us out of this recession. Europe then internationally needs to assist us in knowing exactly that items are going to improve and that we're going to really get a hold of this burden issue that's plaguing a lot of countries through Europe, and the fact that Italy and Spain are in trouble also doesn't help. So although Ireland is doing a lot of good things, we're finding that, domestically then the social charge that was introduced at the beginning of the year, that 2%, has just hit people in their pockets, and just people are burdened with debt. And what we find is that although very optimistic, it's tempered by the fact that confidence is low and not knowing exactly what's ahead of us.
OK, Neil Sweeney, we wish you every fortitude and success with McElhenny's of Athboy, and we hope that you do endure and survive. And thank you for joining us on Newstalk Breakfast.
9:27. In just a few minutes' time, we're going to open up the phone lines to hear from you, your mortgage stories, just in reaction to the government's solution to the mortgage crisis, which was offered up yesterday, the Keane Report, 1890 453 106. But to wrap up this debate about doing business in Ireland, let's turn back to our panel in studio. And Seamus Sheridan, founder of Sheridan's Cheesemongers. The government, in terms of doing business and government policy, a help or a hindrance to you?
We should just ignore them and start ourselves. When myself and Kevin set up, we could get into shops, as Ivan said. You could rent shops for 15 grand a year. The shops are empty again. So I know in the next year or two you're going to see young kids opening up shops in Dublin city centre. They don't have to pay 150 grand key money or massive rents. So the economy will start growing again from the younger generation. When the government can help us, but in my area of expertise in agriculture, I think it's time that the farmers got together themselves. People like the lamb farmers in Kerry lamb, the Connemara Hill farmers, brand their own product, go to market themselves and stop looking for government assistance.
You can kind of see that though. Haven't the pork farmers done something like that with the Truly Irish brand, which you see in some of the supermarkets, and they've come together to sell sausages basically?
But that would be a government, that's Board B, a quality assurance scheme. What I'm saying, if we want to get out of the monoculture that we have in Irish agriculture and get reward for quality, then if people get together and they say, listen guys, we're going to up the ante, we're going to make something that's a bit special, we'll get together, do it yourselves, market it yourselves, get a bit of help from the government because it's there. Board B do great work in that respect. But it's time we got up off our own arses and went to market ourselves and got our own reward for our quality. It's all out there if we put our mind to it.
Stephen O'Leary of O'Leary Analytics. Similarly, people out there maybe sitting in a company like you were, and indeed like Jonathan was, and a eureka moment starts off with just an idea. What if somebody provided this? What are your tips for people with taking the what if to the next level and maybe providing for themselves?
Well, I suppose try to have no fear. I think the thing that overwhelmed me when I went to set up my business was the amount of goodwill in the country towards startups. The amount of people who offered me advice free of charge, who tried to help me out, and if they couldn't become a client or didn't have business for me, they probably knew someone who might have done. The Dublin Chamber of Commerce have been hugely helpful. Talk to your local chamber. We definitely, something I'd say, even before you set up, maybe suss out with them, see what the opportunities are, maybe go along to some meetings and talk to people. Talk to people who've maybe done this before as well.
Don't they set up, and I've heard just from a couple of friends who have set up businesses, the kind of mentor schemes are supposedly quite excellent.
There are mentor schemes, there are networking opportunities, there really are, and there are lots of official things. I mean, there are lots of enterprise boards and grants and facilities available to people, especially I think in the technological area, but in any area of business. I think the overriding thing for me when I was setting up was that goodwill, and that people in Ireland, there's a lot of talk that you get knocked and that you're only being set up for a fall and things like that. My experience has been the absolute opposite. Everyone seems to be, go for it, we'll help you out, we'll do what we can, and you'll get through, you'll make it. It hasn't been easy, but the rewards are amazing.
Jonathan Ruane, co-founder of Eventovate, our editor here at Newstalk. I remember when I first started here, I used to have this screensaver on his computer that would pop up saying "Talk radio, it'll never work," and it was somebody who told him this, and it remains to be seen. Somebody who told him this when he was taking the job. But what do you say to people who go, Eventovate, cloud computing, hotel management, rubbish, you're going to be on the dole?
Well, first of all, I've never heard anybody say that to me. I'd completely agree with Stephen. Everybody's very supportive in Ireland. That whole thing about people knocking, I just don't see it. It doesn't exist as far as I can see day to day. But also, I mean, that wouldn't bother me if somebody said it to me. I have more doubts myself every second day than anybody else would, because I know the business better. But all you do, my job is to overcome challenges. It's not to listen to problems.
Yep, fair point. Okay, on that note.
Yes, I'd like to thank Jonathan Ruane, co-founder of Eventovate, Seamus Sheridan, founder of Sheridan's Cheesemongers, and Stephen O'Leary, of media analyst with O'Leary Analytics,